Hey there, lovely people. It's the Water Trio. We're coming to you with the astrology of week beginning Monday, March 25. It's still Mercury in Pisces, retrograde madness. Strap yourselves in. We're not really sure what's going to happen this episode. So we've had a few technical crazy hiccups trying to get it up and running to this point. So I am joined by my gorgeous girlfriends and astro friends in action, Kelly Surtees. Hey, Kel.
Hey, Cass. Hey, Leish.
And Alicia too.
Hi.
So we're bringing you the juice of the week ahead. So who would like to start? Who wants to start with the aspects of the week? I can't even talk.
Since we started with Mercury, maybe we should dive in there, huh? And this is the week that Mercury goes direct. Yay!
Yep. Thank you.
Goodness.
But it is happening conjoined Neptune. So look, it's slowed down pretty much. It conjoined Neptune today pretty much, and it will be sitting there all week, but there will definitely be that sense of, okay, things are ready to go forwards again. We can start moving forward. This has been a particularly tricky retrograde. I have heard stories left, right and center, even to the fact that literally Facebook and Instagram went down, and WhatsApp as well, all during this Mercury retrograde. So much around technology and communication, things going haywire, just that vague brain. Some call it mum brain, some call it bimbo brain. It's just that, just trying to get the neurons to fire, get, things from one point to the next has been really tricky. So when it goes direct, and we're talking, so here in Australia, it's Saturday the 30th. Is that Friday afternoon in the US, Kel, that it happens?
When Mercury goes direct?
Or when it's stationed, sorry.
Stations direct, Thursday the 28th in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it slows down and stationed here on the Friday the 29th. And that is when snafus happen even more. It's usually that stationary position that is actually when things just totally stop working. So do be prepared for that Thursday the 28th, Friday the 29th, but then by Saturday the 30th, it's back moving forward again and going back over all that old ground that has basically been traveling through since late Feb?
Mid-Feb,
Mid-Feb, yeah. So do expect, new themes old themes to be highlighted, things to be revisited. So that's my little blah, blah, blah. Anyone else got anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, this is a week for sure Mercury stations direct, which is definitely a good thing to have the retrograde over. But as you're saying, Leash, Mercury's in station, so it's like standing still, like a train stuck at the station. So that can feel temporarily a little bit more frustrating. But one of the things I really like about this week is that we have Venus move into Pisces. And that kicks off Tuesday the 26th in Canada and the States. That'll be Wednesday the 27th if you're in Australia. Venus coming into Pisces, it's not perfect. It's not going to magically fix everything, but it is bringing a planet into some really strong dignity. And I like, we've had this sort of messy, confusing Mercury and Pisces vibe. It's lovely to have a planet come into Pisces that really exalts or is happy to be there, that gets some special vitality or juice, if you like. So I think Venus in Pisces is going to help maybe soften some of the confusion, or at least highlight what points of connection and collaboration might exist. That idea of, instead of just keep missing each other with Mercury retro snafus, now we've got Venus in Pisces just helping you reach across the aisle or be like, okay, we can't do this one thing, but we can at least get started over here. So to try and get some of that flow or that repair or that reconnection.
I agree with you there, Kel. It's almost like anything that was particularly frustrating or didn't quite connect under the retrograde, Venus will come along and kind of, either extend the olive branch, or she will sort of, connect the dots that Mercury couldn't quite get to happen. And, anything that kind of didn't seem to really work out for you in the Mercury retrograde, Venus can kind of add that, benefic quality or that extra little bit of oomph that, oh, that didn't work out and now I can see why, and I've got something better than maybe the Mercury retrograde didn't kind of produce for you. So if there was a missed opportunity under the retrograde, you might be able to see that kind of blessing in disguise as Venus comes through that same territory.
Yeah, it just feels like there's something slightly positive or helpful,
Yeah.
or like it's an improvement, if Mercury has been in Pisces causing problems, Venus in Pisces actually brings gifts and resolutions or togetherness.
And then, of course, pretty much straight up, she sextiles Uranus straight off the bat. So, there's that element of a surprise or something unexpected or something, really quite cool could also manifest under that too.
Yeah, that's going to be a really fun aspect. Sorry, Leash, I just cut you off.
No, that's okay. Keep going.
No, you go. I just talk.
No, just that she's going to travel over that ground that Mercury's been back and forth over since the end of since mid-Febs, and she's going a lot quicker than Mercury is, so it's almost like she catches up pretty quickly. So they'll almost be holding hands towards that end part of Pisces, and so it's giving us that chance to really, as you were saying, Kelly, have that collaborative thought, or just to beautify or harmonize wherever any of those issues have been happening, and bringing those, I'm always talking about Venus and her value systems, what we value into this, what do we value about communication, but in that very Piscean way, when our minds were turned inwards with that Mercury retrograde, what did we discover about ourselves that we can now actually bring out and really see as a jewel, as a gem, and have value and apply to put out into the world, show off that beautiful part of ourselves that we may have previously not discovered. And maybe that sextile to Uranus will bring the insight, bring that sudden flash. Okay, that was what it was. That was what all that hazy, weird crap was about. Actually, it was about me discovering that about myself.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Venus Uranus, it's such a fun, sparky, exciting, invigorating kind of energy. I don't know. It's a quite a potent. I know we think sextiles is sort of like a gentle flowing aspect, but Uranus is in Taurus, which is a sign that Venus rules, and it's being aspected by Venus. So it's a really, it's a Venus sextile Uranus can be fun and flirty and romantic and spontaneous, but it's also about affection with a twist, if you like, in terms of creating that connection, but breaking out of a bit of a rut too. Like a welcome surprise or an unexpected thing that you're actually kind of happy about. Yeah. And it can bring, insight, like a shift internally, like a breakthrough. But it definitely has that kind of fun external vibe too. How do you guys see that? Cass, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think just with the rulership qualities, etc., it's really got that surprise with the twist, it's a welcome surprise. You may not have expected it. It might be a little bit sort of sudden, or it's just that, kind of plot twist that maybe you were hoping for, but maybe not really being able to communicate or articulate under the Mercury stuff. So I do like Venus sextiles to Uranus, because it does give you that opportunity, as you said, to break out of a love habit or a rut. It's like, when you get to those points where you're like, oh, let's go out for dinner, but you go to the same place all the time, or or you're doing the same thing. It's like, let's actually drive across town and do something different. Or let's just break out of our zone a little bit. Let's just kind of do something different. So, I think that's, we all get in our little habits sometimes. And I think the Venus sextile Uranus can help us get out of that. If you go out all the time, maybe stay in, just whatever it is you do all the time, do it different.
Yeah, do the opposite kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun, activation midweek, I think, just to get us through hump day, basically.
Yeah. And I feel as well, sometimes when you get in a relationship, you take on the other person's habits and they take on yours. And it's almost like this is the potential of this is to actually ask for a bit of freedom for the relationship. Like if you guys are living in each other's pockets, then maybe it's time to go off and do something for yourself and become more of yourself. And it's almost so then that other person can fall back in love with that person they were originally with, you know, by being, it's that whole thing about, you know, if you really love something, then set it free. So then it will naturally come back to you if it was meant to be, that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. So there is a bit of a different vibe coming in this week, I guess, with Venus moving into Pisces and then Venus starting to make some aspects to Uranus. So it's just, you know, possibilities that maybe didn't exist or new desires. You know, Venus in Pisces is a very wet kind of placement. So really highlighting like connection and togetherness and even quality time. But as we said, like with a twist or in it, maybe an unexpected way with the Uranus piece. What are you thinking, Cass?
We've also got something kind of exciting this week, and that's our monthly moon connection to Jupiter.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so we've got the moon conjoined Jupiter at 24 degrees here in Oz, 27th at 12:37 p.m. So if you're listening in the States, it'll be on the evening before. So the 26th at around 7:37 p.m. if you are on the West Coast. And of course, just adjust your time zone accordingly.
30 p.m. on the East.
The 3 hour difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of funky periods where people start moving in and out of daylight savings, you know, here in Australia, and then I'm sure in the US too. So the moon conjoined Jupiter. So that is just a lovely time to, you know, set your intentions, perhaps to, you know, dabble in a little bit of planetary magic if that's your thing. And also gives a lovely boost to whatever goodness Jupiter is providing in your chart this year through its journey through Sagittarius. So I'm kind of looking forward to that personally. How about you girls? You've got any ideas in mind for this month and your Jupiter work?
I don't have any specific plans and projects in mind. I mean, my online class on career and life direction in astrology starts the day before when the moon in Sag. It's not quite conjunct, but at least it's in Sag, which is great. Which is probably, I can never remember how Tony and I picked these dates, but I'm sure that had something to do with it. So, and that's, I mean, Jupiter in Sag is 10th house career for me. So it's just a lot more about, I mean, that's part of the Jupiter and Sag cycle for me personally, is just developing work in different ways. And I don't know, which often happens with me. It's not necessarily like a planned intention, but it's like, oh, maybe I'll just do a bit more teaching this year. And then that kind of.
You've always been like that.
That's just everyone else makes these 5-year plans. And I just kind of go like, maybe I'll do this. Oh, magically there's this thing going on. So
yeah, that's always been my cue.
Especially with Jupiter stuff. So, So I always look forward to the moon Jupiter. It's just such an uplifting energy.
And Venus fresh in Pisces at the time too. So we've just kind of, it's greasing the wheels for a little bit of, you know, good stuff with the benefic planets in signs they really love to be in.
Totally. Oh, that's a really good point, Cass, because once Venus gets into Pisces, then we actually have 3 planets in really happy signs. We've got Sun in Aries, we've got Venus in Pisces, and Jupiter in Sag. But also, just when you were talking there, Cass, you reminded me, Venus moving into Pisces is good for another reason, which is that since early February, Venus has been in a sign ruled by Saturn. So she was in Capricorn in Feb, and then she's been basically in Aquarius in March. So even though those signs are very different, they have very different qualities, they do both look to Saturn. And of course, Saturn is involved in so much other pressure, intense things. That Venus moving into a sign not ruled by Saturn is a shift we are all going to notice.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, putting that Jupiter juice on steroids a little bit. You know, nothing's really inhibited at this point in time in terms of their levels of dignity.
Yeah.
And so I guess, yeah, look to those houses that both Jupiter and, Sagittarius and Pisces rule. So that's where these planets are going to be transiting through. For Kelly and I, they're both angular. So we're really looking forward to that. And how about you, Alicia? So what will be 9th and 12th for you?
Yeah. So a bit more on the quieter side of things for me.
Still productive, yeah.
Yeah, it is still definitely productive, but not as out there. I mean, the 9th house is with Jupiter and Sag, and that's what I find, you know, this podcast is, and doing a few other writing projects at the moment for publications. But it's also, I'm just feeling really drawn to retreat, you know, that whole 12th house stuff, and finding those quiet moments, which, especially being a busy mum and running 2 businesses, it's not, you know, there's a real joy in those small times where I can get this. So, yeah, absolutely. I will be trying to schedule retreat time in.
I love it.
Which is what happens, and maybe, you know, for me, just even doing those magical rituals, trying to schedule time in for those is a special treat. So I will definitely be trying to harness that energy then. The Jupe juice has definitely delivered for me, so I need to give him a little back and keep asking, keep the cooperation happening.
And I think as us being, you know, the water trio, these things are so wonderful for us, because back in the early days in Sydney, we used to get together each month on the new moon, and we would do new moon rituals. So we didn't really...
I forgot about that.
How could you forget? Oh my God,
that's bad.
I'm totally offended. The Cancerian with the memory like an elephant is totally offended now, and I don't even use that word, offended. No, I'm only joking. So,
Kath, I had a memory the other day of you and your beautician moments with us. You know, that was a stalking memory of just how much...
We don't need to go there. I've seen
what memory is this that is being alluded to?
No, remember we used to come over to your place and Cass would do our beauty routines.
Oh, our beauticians. I love it.
Oh, yeah,
like a good Venus in
Talking
Taurus
about...
I always looked after you girls.
Like, I was thinking about the facials that you used to give. That's the part I was thinking about, Leash.
Sorry, my Scorpio mind went elsewhere.
Of course it did. But those facials were so good, like the massage and the face mask. Oh my God. I mean, this is so Venus in Pisces to evoke these like memories of family, connection. Because your Venus in Pisces is so generous as well. I think, like, you know, the people that you love get the good stuff when Venus is in Pisces. And Cass is just having a moment there.
Yeah, I just had a moment with my water, all this Venus and Pisces, and
drowning in the water.
But yeah, like, you know, part of, you know, the way the water trio really connected is that we started doing these new moon rituals every month together, right? And so we didn't, you know about planetary magic back then. We didn't know about planetary hours and all of the things that, you know, we're learning, you know, more about now in our community. So we used to get together, and I remember one time when it was the new moon in Taurus, we just ate our body weights in this chocolate mousse, which was just so amazing.
Oh my God.
And then I remember one time we went to, we drove across town. We ate at a Lebanese restaurant in a part of Sydney where none of us were from. So we were evoking the Sagittarius.
That was the I'm like, that was
foreign, foreign
Sag.
food in a foreign area of town, which none of us were. So they were two that really stood out for me because they involved eating. Oh, they all involved eating.
They always involve food though. Totally.
Did we do the Gemini one? Wasn't that going to Bathers Pavilion for cocktails and just being out and about and chatting? Was that Gemini? That was so good. Or was it Pisces drinking?
One question that I've been getting a little bit lately as we're having our stroll down our memory lane, water trio memory lane, somebody asked me, I think I've had this question twice recently, are you all actually water signs? And I was like, yeah, we didn't, like, we're not lying when we came up with we are all water signs, and our suns all form a trine. So
a very tight trine,
a very tight trine. Like, basically our birthdays are exactly 4 months apart, and Cass is early Cancer, I'm early Pisces, Leash, you're early Scorpio. And you could draw a triangle between our 3 sun points. I don't know where the chickens fit, but they want to be included too. It has to be probably in the center. But anyway, I just thought I'd just share that on air so all of our listeners can kind of know, yes, we are a water trio, technically, according to the chart, in addition to just having a fun name. Yeah. So, yeah, back to our new moon days.
Yeah, so we always, I guess the Cancerian wants to evoke those memories of the past where we used to eat together. And so we've been doing our little rituals since the beginning. So, yeah. So moon conjoined Jupiter is another opportunity to maybe like set the bigger picture of the Jupiter stuff that you want to bring into your life. So it's just a little bit of a pinging energy, if you like.
Oh my God, I love it. That's such a great description.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, back in the days when I was learning how to play computer games and used to give your race cars like a nitro boost to make them go faster. It's kind of like that. That was the first analogy that came into my mind under this Mercury retrograde. Sorry, it wasn't that good, but I
love it.
I was thinking of the steroids some of my bodybuilding friends back in clubbing days used to take. You just see them 1 week and then 3 weeks later it's like, whoa, how did you get that big that quick? But it happens.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have no helpful analogies to share on that front, but I feel like we're talking about the moon with Jupiter being like this really positive energy, Tuesday, Wednesday. We do have to talk about what the moon does on Friday, Saturday, I think, as well, when it gets into Capricorn.
It has a little bit of a rough patch.
It just, it sort of goes from one extreme to the other.
Like you've run out of nitrogen in your engine.
There's no more nitro
turbo.
So the moon will be in Capricorn Friday the 29th if you're in Canada and the States, and that'll be Saturday the 30th if you're in Australia. And of course, in Capricorn right now, we have the South Node, we have Pluto, we have
Saturn.
I'm like, what's the other
one?
Saturn, I knew there were 3.
We all want to forget him.
I know, I'd like to. No, I really wouldn't. So a little bit more of a reality check, sobering type energy. The highs and the opportunities of earlier in the week are great, but there will be different topics where it's like, I need to maybe be conservative or cautious or cut back. That could be really highlighted on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
And totally. So have all your fun midweek.
Yeah.
How about, sorry, Alicia?
And it's a weekend to be doing jobs. Oh, no, I was going to say there's also rituals you can be doing with Saturn's energy as well. Trying to make the most out of it. I know, Kel, you've got an awesome one on your website. I don't know whether or not you'd be starting it under a moon in Capricorn or not.
You can, totally.
Because that's a Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah. So there is a mantra practice. I think it's like a mantra for Saturn with discipline and devotion. Like if you just if you search for those terms on my website in the search bar, you'll find this mantra. Look, I think if you want to do it as a long practice, it's nice to start it under the waxing moon on a Saturday. And it's a mala type mantra. So the idea is you're doing 108 repetitions first thing in the morning. But I have been encouraging people to do it just around those 2 or 3 days each month when the moon is in Capricorn, just as a bit of an alleviation type remedy. I did this mantra as a practice in mid-2018, kind of to do with the Mars retrograde in Aquarius. And it really, I found it gave me a lot of clarity and it did give me a calm. Now, was that just because I was doing an extra meditation for 10 minutes a day and that's just good? Or was it because I was doing something specific with Saturn? Hard to say, but I was so happy with how it made me feel and how I felt it shifted things that I've been really happy to share it with other people. So that mantra I shared with my own membership base earlier in the month, because this is the second time this month that we've had the moon through that Capricorn rough patch. So I do think it's, definitely a good thing to do kind of Friday, Saturday for sure.
And doing it on those time. So sorry, honey.
No, there's probably lots of Saturn mantras and rituals and remediation. That's just one type.
And I just felt like doing it, for me as a busy mom, I can't do a ritual every day. It's just not achievable. But knowing that I can do that ritual on those specific days when the moon's in Capricorn is that, okay, you know, that's one way for me to definitely tick that box, because really at the end of the day, you know, Saturn is our structure. It rules our skeleton. If we didn't have Capricorn, if we didn't have Saturn, we'd be a pile of jelly on the floor. It's not something to just go blah and throw away. So doing things that devote to that part of our lives as well, it just helps give us a full balance. And another ritual that I've been doing that I have found super helpful is doing some ancestor stuff on the South Node. So when there's triggers happening to the South Node, and this is, again, going back to Caitlin's website, Sphere and Sundry, there's a great thing on there. But just, yeah, when the moon's in that area of your chart, looking at where you come from and how that can help, you know, what things that come from your ancestors that are blessings, what are things that come from the past that fill you in, that become who you are, not just DNA wise, but also energetically as well. I've just found some really special understandings and insights into myself and my family that bring a lot more peace and release as well of the harsh stories that perhaps had a childhood lens on them that are not so much the reality of what the situation was. So yeah, definitely, sweet listeners, that's something to try as well.
Nice.
Cool. And then since we're on like Saturn stuff, there's this little book called The Greatness of Saturn, a Therapeutic Myth. And it's by Robert Svoboda. I can't even pretend to pronounce that. He's a Western guy who studied Indian astrology in quite depth. And this story, it's a therapeutic myth. So the idea is that you read it and it can help calm or balance some of the Saturn stuff in your life. So given that Saturn is actually going to be with the South Node, that's one of our featured aspects for April, which we're talking about more in future episodes. I don't know. I think doing some of this ancestry South Node work that you're talking about, Leash, doing some Saturn stuff, it's really relevant, not just to this Friday when the moon's in Capricorn, but as general things for 2019 with the larger cycles that are at play. Have you done anything along these lines too, Cass?
I haven't really done anything from an ancestral standpoint, but what I have been doing is, which sort of leads me to the next segue. We did really want to mention that Mars moves into Gemini on the weekend too, but I've been doing, because I'm in a Mars perfection year, I have Mars and Taurus. It's actually a Scorpio year for me though, but and Mars and Taurus. So I just sort of wanted to perhaps, you know, maybe like fire up the bull a little bit and get it a little bit more energized. So I just thought I would give, you know, Boulder, the bull, you know, I've got a picture in my room, and just to, you know, fire it up a little bit. And I mean, it's not like a healthy Mars in the sense it's in a sign of its detriment, but I am quite attached, as you should expect, to my stubborn streak. So I did actually.
Oh my God, that's the most fixed sign statement ever. I'm stubborn and I like it.
It reminds me.
I'm stubborn and I know it.
It reminds me of a wonderful conversation I had with John Frawley one time. I think we were all out to dinner with him, and he's a Taurus, and he says to me, Cassandra, you're not stubborn, you're just right. And I was like, sing it to the choir. But anywho,
but also like, let's just throw a few other signs under the bus here, because I get that quote from my very sexy Scorpio husband all the time.
You've got a fixed Mars too. We've all got fixed Marses,
that's
actually.
True. And
I have an Aquarian husband who is always right, even when he's wrong. Love you, honey.
All the big signs: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And yeah, look, my husband would say the same thing about me. So I shouldn't just throw him under the bus. He would equally throw me under the bus.
Yeah, well, we can all throw each other under the bus because we've all got our fixed Mars.
That's true.
I don't mind throwing myself under the bus with my self.
I just want to have company under there. Like, I'm like, who else is coming to the gutter with me?
And so anyway, I've been nudging Mars a little bit through planetary ritual on Tuesdays and on Friday nights. And so my son, who's 4, he has Mars in Libra. So his Mars isn't so great either. So I had this, so he's 4 and he's, at kindy and at home, we're really sort of trying to teach him about choices and, okay, you've got 2 choices, you do this and then this can happen, just basically behavioral stuff, consequences and reward type of thing. So I was like, maybe I can invite him into the Mars ritual on Tuesdays because I have him home with me on Tuesdays and he's loving it. And we're not doing too much. He's only a kid and it is a malefic planet after all, but wanted to just kind of help him use Mars in a constructive way, in a decisive way. And for him specifically, not following the crowd, not doing what other kids are doing and make choices that are right for him. So if you do have kids, I think there is, bringing in that spiritual component. And he loves holding his little bottle and he closes his eyes and he says, "Dear Mars," and he asks for what he really wants. And some of those things is to help him make good choices. So that's been probably one of, I've really noticed it in him, how Mars is just really kind of helping him clarify what he wants as opposed to going along with other kids or, doing naughty things because all the other kids are doing it kind of thing too. So, yeah.
You definitely used that Mars with my Scorpio daughter on the weekend, didn't you, Chad?
Oh, yes. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, we will talk more about Mars and Gemini in next week's episode because we'll be really feeling that next week. And this has been
so if any of you girls,
memory lane.
It has been, yes, as the moon will move over the south node this week. So Cal, you've already mentioned your career course, your 4-part installment career course. So was there anything else you wanted to drop?
As you're saying that, I believe that I'm giving a webinar through Astrology University on Saturday, April 6th. And I believe the topic is fertility astrology. So
yes, I've seen that somewhere. So
yep.
Yes,
I got an email about that.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's great. Probably. Anyway, this is me being a little bit vague. That's what's happening. That's the topic. So if anyone's interested in that topic, you can sign up via my website or the Astrology University website.
And how about you, Alicia?
Yep.
I am taking sign-ups for my new beginner's astrology course, which will be held here in Palm Woods. So
yay.
I'm only going to have 6 places for that this time. So yeah, get in quick because I think it's already half full.
Oh, awesome, Alicia.
Yeah.
And me, I've still got, I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast, but I currently still have half-price consultations on. So, and that will be coming to a close when Mercury stations direct. So if you are listening from the States with our exchange rate, it's a pretty good deal. So jump on my website and that's under the events tab there. And I also have my Astrology of 2020 up to my eyeballs right now, writing about, right. We're like, what are we discussing on the episode? I'm like, oh, my head's still in 2020. So yeah, so I'm busy writing for that too. So that's kind of where we're at this week.
And Kel, are you making any personal announcements, lovely?
Well, let's do that. Let's save that for the next episode, shall we?
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Yes.
Well,
okay.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for another installment of The Water Trio. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and please feel free to subscribe to any of the podcasting platforms that you're catching us on. So we'll say bye for now and enjoy the last leg of this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. See you next time.
Bye. Oh my God.